Hey, what's up guys? It's Marv and welcome back to another Racing Master video. And yes, I saw all of your feedback on my previous Racing Master video, and what you're seeing on screen now is unlocking the Audi TT. And that's important because it required me to slog through 30 different tiers of this event, and that's how I unlocked this car. Each tier had a bunch of different conditions that you had to meet, so I played probably about 100 or more races in Racing Master at all of the different tiers and a bunch of different cars to unlock the Audi TT. And yes, that's why I have fallen in love. Of course, it is my dream car. It's the car I drive in real life as well, and I could not pass up the opportunity to unlock it. And of course, it's in my favorite solar orange. But I saw all of your comments, and that's why I wanted to practice a whole lot in Racing Master as well, so I could get a better understanding of this game and give a revised opinion and update about it, but also talk a bit more about your guys' feedback in addition to reviewing the Audi TT. Before I get into that though, I would love to point out the recent stream that I did in Asphalt Legends Unite, where I hosted a couple of community tournaments. So we did a 3-race series with 7 racers in each race, and I casted and hosted the whole thing. It was loads of fun. It wouldn't be possible without you guys, so thanks to those of you who joined me. If you want to catch my next stream and possibly participate in these tournaments, be sure to check the notification bell when you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a future stream. I usually stream on Saturdays, and as well, if you'd like to see some cool car photography, you can check out my Instagram and you can chat with me on Discord. Links to those will be in the description down below. Okay, so before I talk about Racing Master in general, let's talk about the Audi TT, because yes, that pretty much is the entire reason why I grinded through all of those 30 tiers in this event. It was all to get my favorite car of all time. And of course, it just looks absolutely beautiful. I'm not going to change anything about it. I did change the wheels though, because the stock wheels were not really the best in my opinion. Audi does make some pretty damn good wheels, but for whatever reason, I think Racing Master went with the sport option, so they don't really reflect, in my opinion, the character of the car, so I changed them out. Otherwise, this car remains at stock. Performance, on the other hand, is upgraded as much as I physically can at the moment. Luckily, when you get to tier 30 in the event, you do get some ECU upgrades for the car. Unfortunately, you can't buy any more, so this car won't be at its full potential for a very long time, but it has been upgraded a couple of ECU tiers, and I pretty much have 4 out of 5 upgrades on all things except for tires or something like that. So yes, it's not at peak potential, but it's pretty darn close. One of the things that I want to point out is that this is a rare tier car. This isn't a legendary car, but what I did play with throughout the event in the sports tier was the Porsche Panamera, which I finally unlocked. And that car gave me the perspective of what a really good sports car in this game feels like, especially because it's legendary and it had really good performance compared to the other cars that I owned, and it led me to many first place victories. This car, on the other hand, the Audi TT, don't get me wrong, is a really good car, but I don't think it's at the top of the sports tier. Now, that's not to say that I won't use this car. I mean, whenever I hop on Racing Master, this is the only car that I will drive. You take my word for it, when I get those daily 5 races that I can pick and choose the tier that I want to race in, I will play the sports tier and I will play the Audi TT. This is solely the reason why I am playing this game, is because I love this car so much, and a bunch of other mobile games don't really have the Audi TT at the moment. So if you're able to unlock this car and you don't have a legendary car in the sports tier, I definitely recommend it. It will be a very good car for you, but if you have something like the Porsche Panamera, and I believe the Audi RS7 is included in the legendary status for the sports tier, then you could probably race with those cars and get better results. But of course, I do love the Audi TT, so driving it a bunch did give me the perspective that it is slightly worse than the Porsche Panamera. What I will say though is accelerating out of the corners feels a little quicker in this car, but surprisingly, even though this car physically is a lot lighter than a Panamera, it felt a little more sluggish in the corners. Now, both cars are all-wheel drive, so initially what I was trying to do is, with the Panamera, the drifting actually felt pretty good. So I tried to apply the same strategy with this car. Unfortunately, it definitely feels like grip driving is way better than drift driving with this car specifically. I don't know why it feels so different compared to the Panamera. considering that they're both all-wheel drive and the Audi should be a bit lighter, but for whatever reason, this car definitely excels when you use it in grip rather than drift. We'll talk about grip and drift and preferences later on in the video, but in terms of performance, that's where this car sits. It's a really great car if you don't have a legendary car in sports and you want something that's pretty decent, and it's obviously better than the normal cars that you can get like the 370Z and whatnot, but it isn't the king of the sports tier, unfortunately. Nonetheless, it's the only car I'm going to be driving whenever I play in sports tier. So overall, I recommend that you go and try and get this car. Thankfully, the event isn't that difficult. Obviously, it's about halfway through the month and I already have the car, which means I grind it a lot to get this car as quickly as I can because, well, it's my dream. But if you play normally, you should be able to get through the event no problem. You do have till the end of the month, so don't feel super pressured. One thing I do want to mention real quickly before I get into my last video and Racing Master in general is that I did love this event format. You didn't necessarily need to have a bunch of very specific cars because you could regenerate each condition every time you had a new day. So if you had a condition that you didn't have a car for, you could actually just refresh that mission and get a new one. I found that really lovely because it meant that no matter what happens, if you're a pretty good player or if you're a pretty consistent player and you have a decent garage, you could get through the 30 tiers no problem. Yes, some of the missions were more annoying than others, but I never found any of them super impossible. I just had to play a couple of races to get the specific conditions, like 3 German cars appearing in one race. You don't really have control over that. You can have your own German car and that will, help you out a little bit, but it was just things like that, and I found that to be a little refreshing. It didn't require me to go super try hard. I could get through the missions over time, or if I did want to try hard, it would let me complete them a bit quicker. Alright, so getting back to the general discussion about gameplay for Racing Master and a bit of a response to my previous video, I agreed that I didn't have enough playtime to make a very solid opinion. I kind of alluded to that in my video, but as you guys rightly pointed out, it is very different to Asphalt. I shouldn't be comparing them directly, however, they are both mobile racing games, so at least there is the sense of that, but they do cater to very different audiences and very different gameplay styles, and as I pointed out in a couple of comments, I needed to get over the fact that they changed this game over time to be way less arcadey than it used to, and it definitely seems like they're trying to go for more realistic rather than arcade. So yeah, it does fall into that stupid simcade genre that things like Forza Motorsport kind of does. Sorry, I should say Forza Horizon. I hate that franchise. Anyway, that's where this game falls into place. So in terms of my opinion, and I'm going to repeat that, it's my opinion, I'm going to clarify myself a little bit. I do feel like the game could feel faster in terms of the sense of speed. In terms of whether or not the game is actually realistic in the sense of the cars performing in real tracks like they would in real life, even with upgrades, that's a separate discussion, I fully admit. But in terms of sense of speed, that is my main concern with this game. I don't care that the cars don't go 400 million miles an hour. I just care that the game feels slow. Again, I understand if you're trying to play a very realistic simulator, chances are you don't want a bunch of camera shake and things to mess you up a little bit, but I do feel like they could add a little bit more of that, or maybe some more option for camera shake in this game to make it feel like it's a bit more fast-paced, or make it feel like it's a bit more gritty. Something like Need for Speed Shift 2's camera honestly would be really awesome in this game. That game had more realistic handling, but it felt more cinematic because of the camera and lighting effects. Personally, I feel like that's a little more of a valid judgment to have. I'm not going to go out and say the devs should kill all of the handling physics and just replace it with, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit physics. I understand the goal is to be more on the realistic side. I just feel like in terms of, feeling of this game, I think the sense of speed could be improved and I would be much more happy. Again, I don't care that my little Audi TT doesn't go 400 million miles an hour and can't do barrel rolls. That is an Asphalt mechanic. That's reserved for that type of game. I just want the game to feel a little more alive than it currently does. And yes, I am aware of the camera options in the menu. I have them on dynamic, but I do wish that maybe there could be a third option for like an extreme camera that would replicate the effects from a game such as Need for Speed Shift 2. However, I will say over the course of grinding for this event, I feel like I got a lot better at the game. My drifts are a bit better, my cornering is a bit better, I'm consistently placing in the top 3. Now that I'm closer and closer to Racing Master League, or whatever they call the highest league in multiplayer, I am definitely facing higher tier opponents, and I do drop to that 3rd, 4th place if I don't drive a car that's, super crazy. I will lose to the Shirons, and I will also lose to the players who are, just like me, really, really good at racing games in general. So I will admit that my last video, I wasn't really that good at the game, but I was in a different mindset in terms of how to play. Now that in the Audi TT, I've had more of a grip mindset, irregardless of the fact that I don't feel like I'm driving very fast, so it's not the most enjoyable, I can definitely see my performance improving. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit longer, but I wanted to not only review the Audi TT, because it is my favorite car ever made, and I'm so happy that Racing Master added it, but I also wanted to respond and sort of expand my thoughts compared to my previous video and address some of the comments, and agree with you guys who pointed out that my arguments weren't really that great. Wanted to clear myself up there, and of course give Racing Master way more of a shot than I did. I practice a whole lot more and I feel like I've improved, and now I can definitely separate the sense of speed argument from the realistic versus simcade versus arcade argument. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on Racing Master, and if you've unlocked the Audi TT, let me know what you think of that as well in the comments section down below, and I will catch you all later.